I'm now joined by the man of the hour, retired Justice Mukul Mudgal, a man who's now given his consent to what the Supreme Court asked of him to investigate the IPL spot fixing scandal. So, first of all, let me ask you, were you surprised that the BCCI opposed your name when Supreme Court initially suggested you carry on the investigations? I'm talking about earlier, in the earlier hearings, not today.
I didn't know what happened in the Supreme Court, so I can't say that. I was only asked whether the panel would be interested, our committee would be interested in continuing, and if a request comes, if an order comes from the Supreme Court, we will certainly. We have given our consent, the panel, and it's for subject to the decision of the Honorable Supreme Court on Tuesday.
The reason I asked you that question, sir, do you expect hurdles or lack of cooperation from the BCCI during your investigations, considering the BCCI didn't seem too keen on your name during their emergent meeting on Sunday?
Well, I'm not privy to the minutes of the emergent meeting, but I do not foresee hurdles really, because last time in the earlier part of the probe, the BCCI cooperated fully with us.
All right. The operative word there is the earlier part of the probe. They were cooperating. You didn't quite say were they cooperating towards the end of it. Anyway, moving on, sir. BCCI insists that MS Dhoni and Srinivasan did not use the word enthusiast for Mayappan when they deposed in front of you. Do you still stand by your report which says that both Dhoni and Srinivasan said Mayappan had nothing to do with cricketing matters?
I think this is a subject which will be determined by the Supreme Court. I would not like to say anything on this.
Right, sir. I'll move on. During your investigations, you were recording all your meetings. Why did these recordings stop post May the 6th? Did you suspect someone was leaking the recordings?
Well, that will be conveyed to the Supreme Court. Yet there were some reasons which we can't tell you just now. Our counsel will communicate to the court.
All right, that's good enough. That answer is good enough. We get to know that there were some difficulties, which is why you stopped the recordings. So, but we now know that Mr. Raghavan, one of the names suggested by the BCCI, deposed in front of you. Is it true he was there on the behest of Mr. Srinivasan?
No, we had invited him ourselves. It was not at the behest of Mr. Srinivasan.
All right, it wasn't at the behest of Mr. Srinivasan. Now, not as Mr. Srinivasan's behest, but is it true that Mr. Raghavan made it clear to you during your meeting that he was not in the best position or the best person to comment on Mr. Srinivasan, since he's a secretary of a club that comes under TNCA, which in turn is headed by Mr. Srinivasan?
I wouldn't like to say anything about the deposition except what is recorded in our report.
All right, Mr.
The minutes are confidential. I can't say anything.
Right, Justice Mukul Mudgal, thanks so much for talking to us. Of course, he now has a big task on his hand. He would need to investigate the matter because the next hearing is next Tuesday when the Supreme Court will hear this matter. But talking about Mr. Raghavan, I'm now joined by my colleague Rika Roy. Rika, Justice Mukul Mudgal wasn't saying much, but as you reported earlier as well, it was made very clear that Mr. Raghavan had deposed in front of Mukul Mudgal, and it made it very clear he doesn't want to comment on Mr. N. Srinivasan because he was closely associated with him as far as the Tamil Nadu Cricket Association is concerned. So this was a known fact. My question to you is, if this was pointed out by the petitioner's lawyers, if this was pointed out by the media itself, wouldn't you imagine the BCCI also knew about it before proposing his name? What do you think this is? Do you think this was naivety on the part of the BCCI or arrogance?
Well, Nikhil, what I can tell you is the BCCI can argue that until today, they did not have the transcripts of conversations between different people and Mukul Mudgal Commission. It was today that they got the transcripts. Now, in those transcripts, it stated that Dr. Raghavan did not want to speak much about N. Srinivasan because he is the secretary of a club, Camute Cricket Club, which is a 5th division club which comes under TNCA. The fact that he deposed and he said such things before the Mudgal Commission may not have been known to the BCCI. But and that's only the part that I'm going to play the devil's advocate. But BCCI is in know of the fact that he has involvement in Tamil Nadu Cricket Association by being the secretary of Camute Cricket Club. He is a very well-known associate of Mr. N. Srinivasan. We have seen him during several IPL games. We have seen him in South Africa when IPL took place in 2009. So yes, there are definite conflicts of interest, but the BCCI lawyers or BCCI counsel got to know about this deposition when Gopal Subramaniam, Mudgal counsel's lawyer, today said the kind of deposition that happened in front of the commission.
All right, so in the sense we could say the BCCI, team BCCI rather, was stumped in the Supreme Court. But Rika, also we're getting to hear that the BCCI lawyers today requested the judge not to allow the media whenever there's hearing with regards to this matter. Now, for BCCI, who've been saying all along that they want to clean this mess up, they want transparency, they want to get this fixing menace out of cricket. They say this on one side, and on the other side they don't want transparency because they don't want to allow the media to be part of the trials. How does one read this then?
Well, what really happened was Mr. Srinivasan's lawyer said that the Chennai Super King has been subjected to a fair bit of media trial, and that should not happen, and court should take care of that. To which the judge said that you cannot have two cakes at the same time. If you're so uncomfortable, then you should perhaps sit home and enjoy your time with your grandchildren. That was a rather sarcastic comment from Judge AK Patnaik, but what he really meant to say was that if there is a hearing like this, if something of paramount interest to the public like this happening in the court, the media is going to come and the media is going to report on that.